and I am the Manager for Outreach and Engagement at the CTA in the Human Resources Department. We have a really exciting event for you today where we're going to share about the CTA, a job overview, the application process, and career opportunities. And then the second half of our event is going to be our Women in Transit panel, where we will feature 4 CTA employees who have had successful careers in the transportation industry thus far and have a lot of experience and advice to share with our attendees today. So that will be the second half of today's event. As you may know, you are going to be muted for the duration of this fair, and that is just to make sure we don't have any audio interference throughout this time. But if you do have questions, we absolutely want to hear them, whether they are for the presentation, the jobs overview, or for the panel. Please send those to us using the chat box and sending them to the Q&A CTA person. So without further ado, let me introduce my colleague Susanna, who's going to share with us about the CTA.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. All right, so good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. I am very excited to be here today. My name is Susana Orozco. I am a recruiter with the Talent Acquisition Department here at CTA. I've been with the authority for a little over 3 years now. Today, I am going to give you an overview of the CTA, talk about our different career opportunities, provide you with interviewing tips, and also talk about our hiring process. So our mission at CTA is to serve the people of Chicago and surrounding suburbs by providing safe and reliable transportation. Whether you're going to work, school, the airport, or a Cubs game, our job is to make sure you get to your destination. Even during inclement weather and the current pandemic, we continue to provide transit services that link people, jobs, and communities. CTA employs close to 10,000 hardworking and dedicated individuals who have a passion for public service. We provide transit services to the city of Chicago and surrounding suburbs. Most of our workforce is made up of union employees, but we also have non-union positions. Our frontline employees, including our bus and rail operators, and also mechanics, are union positions. A non-union position at CTA includes our attorneys, our recruiters, and our management personnel. We have numerous locations throughout the city of Chicago, including 7 bus garages and 9 rail terminals. Employees are stationed throughout our various work locations. So many people think CTA is all about buses and trains and that we only hire bus and rail operators. Well, today, I'm going to let you know that that information is incorrect. I am now going to talk about our different career opportunities at the CTA. So our operations departments houses all of our bus and rail operators and also our customer service assistants. Our bus and rail maintenance departments are responsible for the upkeeping of our buses and also our trains. These departments house our bus mechanics and also our car repairers. Facility maintenance and infrastructure ensures our work locations, including our rail tracks, are safe and well equipped. We hire our own attorneys, IT, and human resources professionals. In HR alone, the team is broken down into sub-departments, including talent acquisition, which is my department, benefits, compensation, HR testing and selection, and also employee engagement. HR is made up of 50+ talented individuals with a diverse skill set and background. Most of our non-union positions are housed at headquarters located on Lake and Jefferson. We also hire our own safety and security officers that must respond to emergency situations covering our entire transit system 24/7, 365 days a year. I'm now going to talk about 2 of our most popular positions, bus operator and bus mechanic. So a bus operator is responsible for driving a bus on an assigned bus route. Although bus operator is a part-time position, you have the opportunity to work up to 40 hours a week. A bus mechanic is responsible for repairing our bus fleet. Our bus mechanic is a full-time position that offers 5 months paid training. Both bus operator and bus mechanic are assigned to a specific bus garage. Salary for a bus operator is $23.44 per hour, and for bus mechanic, $29.82 per hour. Both positions offer great medical benefits. You can find benefit information on our website. Did you know that a lot of our employees in management started in one of these positions? Our vice president of bus operations began his career as a part-time bus operator November of 1999. So there's opportunity for advancement at CTA. If you're looking for a career, this is the right transit agency to join. Would you like to know what opportunities are available at the CTA? Check out our open positions on our career website at transitchicago.com/careers. New opportunities are posted weekly on Fridays for a minimum duration of 2 weeks. We invite you to come check us out. So we're now going to talk about our hiring process. All applicants must fill out an application online to be considered for an opportunity at CTA. There are 4 easy steps you have to complete. Number 1, you visit our career website at transitchicago.com/careers. Number 2, you register and you create a profile. Make sure the email address you provide and the phone number is valid. If this information is incorrect, we will be unable to reach you. Number 3, you upload your resume. Make sure your resume is updated and reflects your most relevant work experience. Number 4, you apply. You can sign up to receive email alerts when a specific position gets posted. Do not create duplicate accounts, as this will cause many delays with your employment application. So remember to review the job description and also the qualifications before applying to a job. Make sure you are qualified for the position. Also, make sure your resume speaks to the position you're applying to. Ask yourself the following questions. Does the job require a degree, years of experience, or a driver's license? If it does, make sure you meet those requirements before applying to a job. For example, if you're applying to a position that requires you to drive, you will need to have a valid driver's license. If you do not have one, you are not qualified for the position. Some positions within the authority require you to pass testing. Our HR testing and selection department will contact you to start that process. So what kind of testing do we have? Bus mechanic applicants must pass a practical exam at our training facility to test their practical skills and techniques. This is a skill-based test. We have to make sure you have the necessary skills to perform the job. This is a paralegal applicant will need to successfully pass a basic Microsoft Word and also a Microsoft Excel test at headquarters. This is a knowledge-based test. If you pass testing, test scores are good and valid for 3 years. If you fail a test, you have to wait a year before retesting and applying to that specific position. Due to the current pandemic and social distancing guidelines, all interviews are being conducted virtually via the application Zoom. All interviews are with an HR representative and also a department manager. During the interview, we focus on your work history, your education and skills, and also your previous work experience. Remember, this is your opportunity to shine and tell us why we should hire you. Interviews last anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes. Remember to have a list of questions for the panel. You will get an opportunity to ask questions about the position and also the CTA at the end of your interview. Here are a few interviewing tips. Preparation is key. Review the job description before the interview and think about how you meet the job requirements. It is important that you log in a few minutes early to test your equipment. Make sure your audio and your video are working properly and that your equipment is fully charged. Interview in a quiet place to avoid distractions. If it helps, I recommend using headphones during your interview. Also, remember to wear appropriate clothing. Dress business casual. You must treat your interview like if you were interviewing in person over at headquarters. Provide answers that demonstrate your experience. Note that interviews are not being recorded. Our pre-employment process is quite extensive. You will receive an invitation to get fingerprinted at headquarters located on Lake and Jefferson to start the background check. We run a background check through Illinois State Police, FBI, and our third-party background vendor, HireRight. For some positions, HireRight does an employment and an education verification. Make sure you disclose everything when completing the background check. It's also important that employment dates and job titles are correct to avoid any delays with your background. We also require a medical exam and a drug test. Some positions may require you to complete and pass a physical exam. We need to make sure you can physically perform the duties and the responsibilities of the position. When going through our pre-employment screening, keep in mind that we will update you on your process by email and/or phone. It is very important that your contact information is valid. All full-time and part-time employees are eligible for medical benefits. Check out our benefit information on our website. With your employee badge, you can ride the CTA system and also PACE buses for free, 24/7, 365 days a year. Imagine how much money you can save on transportation. We also have our own training and workforce development department that provides free training courses to all CTA employees, both in person and also in a virtual setting. If you're looking to improve your Microsoft Excel skills, or you want to learn new techniques on becoming more organized in the workplace, training and workforce development has you covered. At CTA, we care about the professional development of our employees. Questions? For more information, visit our career website. So once again, that is transitchicago.com/careers. For application assistance, contact CTA Careers at transitchicago.com. Okay, so we're now going to open it up for questions. Delon is going to take those questions from the chat. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. We do have a couple questions that have come in, so just go through those. Just a reminder to all attendees, if you do have other questions for the presentation or even the panel part in the next section, feel free to just send your questions directly to me at Q&A CTA through the chat. So we can go ahead and get started with a couple of the questions that have come in. So one question is, I submitted an application, haven't heard anything yet. What's the status, or how do I find out the status of my application? So I can answer that one. You can log into your candidate portal where you submitted your online application, and you will be able to see the status of any position that you've applied to. If you haven't heard anything, it's likely that we have not yet had an opportunity to view your application. However, you can at any point check your candidate portal to see the status of that application. We do receive many applications for all of our vacancies at Chicago Transit Authority, so it does take us some time to review everything. You can also be checking your email on a regular basis. We follow up both by phone and email once we've had a chance to review your qualifications and determine next steps. So that is a great question. Another question, how can I find out about other job openings at CTA? So we frequently hire for both positions that Susanna talked about today during the presentation, as well as additional positions. You can see the full list of available jobs at transitchicago.com/careers. And you can see those jobs are posted every Friday. You can also, if you're interested in a department or opportunities that may not be posted, you can create a profile in the candidate portion of the website, so that you can get alerted every time a job might pop up that you are both qualified for and interested in. So that is great. We have another question. And I guess this question actually goes to the job openings at CTA. So in order to be considered for a position, you do have to submit an application. So the position does need to be posted and an application does need to be submitted in order to be considered. So great question. Another question is, how long does the hiring process take? So it varies by job, but it typically can take anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. That can include the time that it takes to do testing, to interview, and any of the necessary pre-hire paperwork. So we would email you any additional steps that you need to take. So it's important to be sure that you are checking your email if you are in the hiring process for a position, so that you can do your part to complete any actions that may be outstanding that we need in order to continue moving forward in that process. Let's see. Some other questions are coming in. Someone has a question about bus mechanic. So what are the requirements for that job? So for that position, it does require a CDL with endorsements, as well as a driving abstract and a minimum of 2 years of experience. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw those into the chat and we can go ahead and answer them during this portion before we head to the next section of the presentation.
Dylan, I know a question that we often get asked is somebody has submitted an application, but they haven't heard anything about the position. What can somebody kind of expect as far as, I know you've mentioned the time frame, but where can they go for updates on that, things like that nature?
Yeah, great question. So if you can log into your candidate portal through the Taleo website that you submitted an application on, and it will list every position that you've applied to, where you would be able to go and see any active applications that you have in their current status, as well as applications that you have in their status. So that's a great way to be able to also see any kind of community correspondence that you would have received along with the applications that you've submitted in the past. So that's a great way to check in and make sure that you've been responding to any kind of action steps that have come from the recruitment team in order to keep the process moving forward. All right, I think there's another question that came in. We have some more about part-time bus operator. So the question is, how do I obtain my CLP, and then where can I provide proof of that? So in order to be considered for the part-time bus operator, you do need to either have a commercial driver's license or a commercial learner's permit. And in order to obtain that CLP, it's important to take the written exam that's available in the state of Illinois at 2 DMVs, where you can get the location as well as the hours for those DMVs through the Secretary of State website. Once you have obtained your CLP, you can submit proof to our driving abstract at transitchicago.com email inbox, and then the recruitment team will be able to go into next steps from there. Just a reminder kind of about that. While a CDL or a CLP is not required to start the application process with us, it is important that you have it before you actually begin working at CTA. So you can actually apply, we can interview you, and if you pass that interview, while you're working through studying for your CLP, you can make sure to go and take that test. And then once you have the proof of your CLP, you can submit that to our inbox, again, drivingabstract@transitchicago.com. Then we can go into next steps in order to continue moving forward in the hiring process. Okay. There are a couple other questions about, let's see. One question about the bus mechanic position, and if the position is full-time, and what kind of schedule would I be on if I am selected for the position. So the position for bus mechanic is full-time. The starting pay is $29.82, and the schedule varies. So it could be on any of the shifts that we have, because again, CTA is a 24/7 operation. And as you are into the organization, more opportunity to select your schedule and control your schedule comes with seniority. So that is how that position works, but it is a full-time opportunity. And another question about that is, what location might I be at? So for both operator and mechanic, that location could vary. We do have 7 garages throughout the city. And again, a lot of our union positions, more control kind of comes with seniority. So if after a certain period of time that you've been in the organization, you'll have an opportunity to potentially pick the location and shifts that you prefer. Any other questions? Let's see. Another question came in about the job website. So again, that is, you can check all of our openings at transitchicago.com/careers. And you can sign up to create a profile so that you can get an alert when new jobs are posted. That's also where you can go and check the status of any applications that you have. And if you ever do have questions about anything related to the recruitment process, you can also reach out to us at ctacareers@transitchicago.com. All right, Lindsay, I think that wraps us up.
All right, thank you for answering all of those questions. Okay, so I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Lindsay Estupinan.
All right, thank you, Susanna. Now we're coming to the second part of our event today, which is our Women in Transit panel. So we're very excited to feature 4 women who are employees here at the CTA and have had illustrious careers so far with us and in the transportation industry, excuse me. So please help me welcome Elsa Gutierrez, Kira Thomas, Tanisha Johnson-Chambers, and Christine Dadurian. I'll have each of you begin by just introducing yourselves, saying a little bit about your career so far in transportation and your current role here at CTA. So let's go ahead and start with Elsa.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Elsa Gutierrez, and I'm the Vice President of Scheduling and Service Planning. And my team is responsible for the service levels that are out there on both bus and rail. That includes special events, as well as additional service needed for schools, and any construction projects that need a service plan because rail service will be cut. So we developed a service plan, and then we turn that over to our scheduling department that puts together the details needed for our operation folks, both in bus and rail, to then have the work assignments for our bus and rail operators. So that's about the team that I'm working with in this department. And I'm going to answer, I'm not sure the first question that we were given to answer, which is what brought me to this position, what brought me to CTA, and to work here. So I think what I'm going to focus on a little bit is two things that I think in my background when I was a kid growing up, which led me to this position. And those two things are, one, the primary mode of transportation for my family was using CTA, so using both bus and rail to get around all over the city. And the second thing was the changing economic base in the neighborhood that I grew up with. It was a thriving manufacturing industry that had 3 major employers that hired 35,000 people. And then that shifted when that industry closed and those jobs went overseas. And so those two things were what kind of shaped probably not necessarily why I was in transportation, but the interest in studying economics and urban planning. Basically, I was interested in how cities work. Why is it important to have this economic base in the specific area, and the resources, and how to leverage the resources to have the city or neighborhood thrive. So that's kind of how the background of why I got interested in urban planning and transportation. So I kind of see myself as a planner who happens to be doing transportation planning. So I kind of wanted to highlight that sometimes, you know, some people are real focused. It's like, I want to work in this specific thing. But for me, it was just really broad, right? I had this experience. I was wondering how cities work, and transportation is a major is a major industry in our city that helps people get to and from where they need to be. And so that's where I originally got the interest. And then more specifically, when I applied to CTA, or one of the things that really interested me about CTA is all the data-rich information they had in order for us to analyze and then provide service that was needed in each specific neighborhood. So being able to take this data, analyze it, work with it, and then make recommendations on the service levels for bus and rail. And it isn't just looking at data, but also going out in the field and verifying that, because data is only going to tell you one side of the story. You're also going to need to know what's going on the street. And if you don't do both and you don't marry both, then you're really only providing a solution for half the problem. So that's basically, you know, my interest, why how I got into transit and in the transit industry, and then also the interest of having this the opportunity to do a lot of data analysis to be able to form decisions, and then to craft it in a way that's easy for people to understand, and then also be able to base a decision on the information available. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Elsa. Kira, can you share a little bit about your background, how you got introduced to this industry, and then tell us a little bit about how your department also helps the CTA run?
Sure. So I started my career in transportation back in 2001. I started at Pierce Transit in Tacoma, Washington, and I started as an operator. As an operator, I learned real quick that this could be a great stepping stone for me, because in transit, you can go into many different departments. So I decided to make it my career. I also worked at North County Transit, and I moved up through the ranks. I became a supervisor, and then I became a controller, and I came to Chicago Transit about 2015, and I started in the control center. I was then moved into my department now, which is bus supervision. So currently I am one of the managers over the supervision department. And what we do is we respond to any accident or incident that occurs on public transportation.
Awesome, thank you so much for sharing that, Kira. Tanisha, can you share a little bit about yourself, how you got into this industry, and also what you do and what the control center does as well to help CTA run?
Good afternoon. My career started with the authority accidentally. I actually had a nursing background at the time when I applied for a medical position. However, CTA had outsourced that department. and they offered me a bus operator position. And in 1997, that's when my transit career began as a part-time bus operator. I worked as a bus operator for maybe about 10 years or so, and then I went into supervision, where we were responsible for dealing with service and maintaining service and trying to keep service running on time. After that, I went to the control center as a bus controller, and I worked as a bus controller for about maybe 5 years or so. In that position, I was actually, I was involved in a lot of speaking engagements with a lot of trainings for new hired bus operators, newly hired clerks, supervisors, and things of that nature, just to help and assisting us with keeping our transit system running smoothly, on time, and safely, of course. After that, I decided to enhance my knowledge of the operations of the control center. I became a manager, and dealing inside the control center as a manager, we're actually responsible for all of the daily operations for rail operations, bus operations, any emergencies, and we work hand in hand with sister city agencies just to make sure everything is being coordinated safely and in an organized manner. And at this time, I'm currently a senior manager at the control center, where I am looking further to increase my knowledge and just keep moving further ahead.
Thank you, Tanisha, and congratulations on that promotion. That's very exciting news. Christine, can you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us how you got involved in the transit agency, and a little bit about what you do within the law department, and maybe talk a little bit about our law department, because I think that's a surprising thing that to a lot of people, that we have such a robust legal team.
Thank you. And again, honored to be here with this great panel. So our law department is probably mainly known for the torts division, because they handle a lot of the injuries that might occur on any kind of CTA property. However, beyond the torts department, we have the labor and employment division, we have workers' comp, we have corporate. Each one is its own hub that runs really smoothly. So I'm proud to be on the labor and employment team. And in terms of getting myself to CTA, during law school, I interned for both government agencies and judges on both the state and federal level. After law school, I then clerked for a judge and joined private practice to get employment litigation experience. But I knew I always wanted to return to the public sector for a lot of the reasons that have already been stated. Especially with Elsa, with what you were saying, the last decade that I've been in Chicago, I've only relied on CTA and have been so thankful for that. So for me, when this opportunity came up, it was actually a friend of mine who used to work for CTA and pointed out that what we already know, that it provides exceptional service to its passengers, it really takes care of its employees too. And that really resonated with me, as well as its mission, and having considered it my life source. So having applied for that position, and my current group, the labor and employment group, I now have been at CTA for 3 years, and I love my time here as well.
All right, thank you for sharing that, Christine. Thank you to all of our women on the panel for introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your experience so far. And I just want to say to our audience, if you have questions for any of our individual panelists, or just an open question for any of them to answer, please continue to use that chat box. Send your questions to Q&A CTA, and we will try to answer as many of those as possible at the end of our second half hour here. We want to hear what you want to know. So feel free to utilize that and send those questions through the chat. So the second question that I have for our panelists today is, what challenges or stereotypes have you had to overcome or address as a woman in what some people consider to be a really male-dominated industry? So let's go ahead and mix it up a bit. Tanisha, would you be willing to share a little bit about that?
Sure. I think my biggest challenge came as a woman was when I was promoted into management. The department that I began working in was male dominated, very aggressive, very stressful department. And I had to humble myself in order to learn their craft. So I quickly had to learn, in order for me to be successful and learn and get all of the knowledge that I needed, I had to identify their different personalities and different characteristics and adjust my style of communicating with them just to get that knowledge. I believe I may have intimidated some of them at the very beginning, but I had a few that were willing to mentor me, and I was able to lean on them to get a little bit more information and knowledge to get me where I am today.
Great, thank you for sharing, Tanisha. Elsa, could you also speak to that question?
Yeah, I think for me, as you gain more experience, or at least when I started in service planning as a planner, and now I'm the VP. But what I really felt younger in the field is just really get to know your craft, right? What is it? What skill set do you want to then go ahead and learn really well, so that, oops, I have an audience over here. Really just learn your craft and become good at it, and then realize that you add value to the conversation. So it did help that I had 3 brothers, so there's a lot of negotiating going on already. So that's really helpful. But at the same time, you add value. Your perspective may not be the same as others, but it is a perspective that's unique and needs to be heard. And I think through time, as you become more confident with your skill set, what you know, and the knowledge that you bring, you exert that in the meetings, and you exert that in the conversations you're having, and you're solving those problems together. And I think that, and then also reaching, I guess for me, I just thought I'm working with everybody. It is challenging. It is male dominant. There's a different style that they use. And I just need to learn as much of it as possible to be able to work with them and figure out how to build collaborations. I think as the other speaker also spoke, you know, some of them are allies. Some of the people that you're working with, you know, are allies, and then also work with you and help mentor you. So it could be a woman or it could be a man, but use everybody who you're working with collaboratively to be your ally, to be able to reach what the next level in your career is, or your goal.
Great, thank you so much, Elsa. I'm going to move on to the next question. What is something that you wished you knew or did when you first entered this field? Or what advice would you give to a woman who is just starting in this industry? So let's go to Christine for that one.
Thanks, Lindsay. So again, a topic that's already been touched on. I think it's super important when we think about networking. It's not like passing around a business card. It's actually making meaningful relationships and building on these connections. So finding people that you aspire to and you can look up to, and that you respect and want to follow kind of their career path. And those that are also peers are also the best kind of allies that we have. Once you keep building on those connections, the more people are aware of kind of what your message is and what your goals are. The same way that my friend who worked at CTA was the reason that I'm here to say, you know, Christina, sounds like something really up your alley. I think you would be interested in this position. And he was right. And here I am at the role that I knew was right for me. And I think just building on those, specifically within that industry, but also sometimes outside of that too. And once we get those mentors that are super important, and then continuing to build on that. So then becoming later a mentor for the next generation, and building on kind of paying it forward, keeping that cycle going, to keep looking out for one another and keep building each other up.
Great, thank you for sharing. Mentoring and networking, very, very important. Kira, would you like to speak to that question?
Sure. So I wish that I would have taken on more job titles before going into management. I would like to tell women, try to learn as much as you can about every role, and don't stop working on your own personal growth, even if you have to teach yourself. Reach out to people, look for a mentor, and just make sure that you're in alignment with your goals and where you want to go in transportation.
Great, thank you, Kara. And just a reminder to everybody once more, if you do have questions for any of the women here, please make sure that you are sending those in the chat. We would love to have more questions come in to have a really robust discussion here this afternoon. My next question is, what are some ways that women and men can champion women in this industry? So I'd actually like, I think everybody to answer this one if you have different ideas. So let's go ahead and start with, let's go back to Tanisha on this one.
I just believe in today's society, women are being promoted through social change, pretty much what's happening, what's going on in the world at that present time. I think it's important to have amazing mentors, strong mentors that support you, are pushing you, and that's the encouraging and the motivating part of it all.
Great, thank you so much. Let's go back to Elsa.
Can you ask the question one more time, please?
Absolutely. So the question is, what are some ways that women and men can champion women in this industry?
I think, I mean, I work collaboratively, so I think it's like reaching across the aisle and then also getting out of your comfort zone, right? You know your skill, you know your set, but you also need to know how the whole agency as a whole works. And so going to other departments, asking to shadow them for a day, trying to learn other aspects of the business that I think are important. We're in planning and we work a lot with operations, but that doesn't take away from also learning how to do procurement. And how do you push through procurement so that you can get a grant to expand a certain program or a certain area in your department. So I would say just the way that you champion it is by, I guess, being open to showing somebody else the craft that you have, right? And that's also on the person's part, is reaching out to other departments that you normally said, I don't know how this relates to what I'm doing, but in the bigger scheme of things, it's all connected. And so just that knowledge base, you may not have to work regularly with that department, but knowing how those pieces fit, I think are useful. And the way that women and men can champion that is by, if somebody asks, being open to explaining that information, what you do. I think a short half an hour, 15-minute conversation can lead to a lot, particularly as you're getting to know the industry, because it's very vast. I've been at CTA 19 years, and I feel like I'm still learning. And that's exciting for me because there's still more to learn. And that's how big and immense it is, right? You know your area, but you don't know everything. And if there's still that drive to know, if you have that drive to know, it'll be able to expand to maybe another position at CTA, maybe in another department. You thought I'm really good at this and I'm going to stay here, but you never know where that would lead. And some of that would lead by you learning about another department, and then maybe there's a position there and trying out another skill set that you have, or expanding another skill set that you have.
Okay, thank you, Elsa. Christine, what are your thoughts?
I want to build on what Elsa was already saying, which I think totally on the knowledge-based level of learning your craft, having confidence in that, but then also knowing that the unknown is also a good challenge to step up to. So beyond advocating for yourself, advocating for others, sometimes the person with the best idea might have the softest voice. So make sure that their ideas are being heard, whether it's a coworker, whatever level you find yourself in. And just kind of, I think something that I've always appreciated about CTA is, regardless of department, it always feels like one big team. So whether it's the law department, whether we're working with HR or a division within the law department, or our countless other departments that we work with, our end goal is all to just help CTA keep furthering that mission. And I think beyond looking out for ourselves first and foremost, to make sure we can be that strong advocate for our teammates, but also celebrating those achievements, whether they're big or small. And I suppose just showing up and just being there for those when they need it, and sometimes when they don't, just making sure your presence is known.
Excellent, thank you. Kira, how about you?
Sure. Well, for those in charge, make it a level playing field. Make sure that your department is well gender balanced. And if it isn't, then start there. Create an environment where everyone has a fair chance at success. Give women a seat at the table and encourage them to step up and into decision-making roles. And for us women, we have to celebrate each other's accomplishments. We have to lead by example, and we have to pull each other up. We have to remember that there's enough success out there for all of us. One person's success doesn't rob the next person. And when you realize this, that there's enough success for all of us, then you learn that your only competition is yourself, and it's okay to pull up other people along with you.
I love that. Thank you. There's enough success for all of us. I think I'm going to start using that as put that on my email signature or something. That's a great line. Thank you all. What I hear is lifting each other up, giving people a seat at the table. And I think one of the things that I've been hearing a lot of personally is not only giving people a seat at the table, but also making sure their voice is heard at that table to really elevate each other and elevate those people who are bringing those different perspectives. So thank you all. This is really wonderful. And I can attest to what Elsa said. What I loved about what she said was learning about the different units of the business. CTA is huge, and every time I learn about a new team, I'm amazed at what they do and how we're all just connected within CTA, and I know other transportation agencies are similarly structured. So the more you can learn from other people, it's always going to be in your best interest and get you those connections that help you network and introduce yourself to people who can also lift others up with you, and that you can do that with each other as well. So thank you so much for sharing that knowledge. I do want to check in with Delon one more time, our Q&A CTA monitor. Delon, can you let us know if any questions have come in through the chat, either for one of our panelists in particular or just the group as a whole?
All right. Yes, actually, and thank you all so much for all the wisdom you've shared so far. We do have a few questions that have come in. And the first question is, anyone can feel free to answer this. Do you find it challenging to manage your work life and your personal life? And how do you deal with that?
Is it open for the group? Okay.
Yeah.
I can start by saying, I mean, the elephant in the room is that we're in the middle of still a pandemic, and hopefully there is light at the end of that tunnel in our city specifically and in our country. But unfortunately, women have seemed to be most negatively impacted are the women in the workforce based on those changes. For those reasons, a lot of women who wear a lot of hats too, whether it's family member looking out for someone or a mother, sometimes that can be seen as another role or something else that should never be seen as a setback at work. And I think just prioritizing and recognizing that, I think any mom that's also working is probably the best project manager, is probably really good at prioritizing and using those strengths that you have gained in wearing one of your other hats to be able to champion that and see that as a positive thing.
Would anybody else like to speak to that? Or if you need the question repeated, that's okay too, just let us know.
So I'll chime in. So since I've been here, especially working at the control center, because it is a stressful environment at times, I make it priority. Whatever, you have to keep it separate. Home, you have to leave at home, and work, you have to leave it at work. When I leave out of the doors of work for that day, whatever transpired is there. I don't take it home with me, and I don't bring home to work, and vice versa. And when it's the next day, I come into work, it's a brand new day. I start from scratch. If I see any of my fellow employees, if they come in and you can tell they're having a bad day at the very beginning of the shift, I'll ask them, I'm like, go back out of the door and come back in, and they'll restart their day. So that's one thing that I keep, that's priority for me. Have to keep it separate.
I'll just piggyback off of Tanisha. I just want to say that you really have to focus on some self-care, because especially in my position, you're responding to major accidents and incidents like that. It could be very stressful. So you really have to invest in self-care so that you can keep yourself grounded, so that you can start each day as a new day.
All right, thank you all. Another question, and this it looks like it's directed towards those who work in operations, but it could probably be answered by anybody. So working in transit ops, 24-hour operations, do you think that women are more challenged by their peers? And by that, they're talking, do subordinates appear to challenge your authority more because you're a woman? And how do you deal with that?
So since I'm in operations, I will say I have definitely had to learn how to stand my ground and be a little aggressive. It shouldn't be that way, but I have. And so how I dealt with that was just by being persistent, always showing up and giving 100% and showing people that my decision-making can be trusted. And then once you do that, once people start, trusting you, trusting that you're going to make good decisions, then it makes it a lot easier.
All right, excellent. And I don't know if anybody else wants to weigh in even outside of an operations standpoint, feel free.
Delana, I'll add on also. Yes, I have experienced that numerous times. I think because being a woman, a lot of times you'll get a lot of pushback, like you really shouldn't be very outspoken. You really shouldn't have any decisions, shouldn't be making any decisions. But a lot of times, and just like Kira stated, I had to stand my ground. But once again, I had to assess each, of my colleagues' personalities, just so I can know how to communicate, my decisions or my opinions, and just let them know. Sometimes it's a new day. You have to change. You have to adjust to different things that's going on at the present time, as far as the community, the company, the different types of workers that we have. So it's all about adjusting also.
Thanks, Tanisha and Kira, for that. I do want to keep us on time, so we're getting pretty close to the end of our time here, but I do want to give one more opportunity to each of our panelists. If there's any final thoughts you want to give, or any question that we asked that you didn't get a chance to answer, this is your opportunity. So just go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself, give any last words of wisdom or anything else to kind of close out our panel here today. So actually, we'll just go ahead. Elsa, anything that you would like to add?
I just wanted to add, CTA is a great place to work. I think everybody on this panel got some great advice on how to, their experience at CTA and how to strive. I'm still reflecting on the last comment that Kieran and Tanisha had said, and I just feel like you just need to be persistent, show up, and I think, people are going to see that this person, wants to be part of this team. They're part of the problem solver. And, there's someone to be reckoned with. There's someone to be heard. I think oftentimes what they say is, women need to be in all places where decisions are made. And I agree with that, because it is a perspective that's different. It may not be the same as everybody on the table, but it is a perspective that needs to be considered. And so I want to end with, I really like the responses that both of them provided, because it's true. You develop your career, and as you start, understand it so that you can continue to contribute. You add a lot of value, and you need to be heard.
Thank you, Elsa. Kira, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I just want to leave everyone with this. You have to focus on solutions. I heard someone say one time, don't bring problems to your boss, bring them solutions. So we have a lot of people who complain, and of course we all have complaints, but take your time and try to think of a solution and then present that in a professional way.
Thank you. Tanisha, any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, absorb as much knowledge and information as you can from fellow colleagues. Keep an open mind to new ideas. Be open to constructive criticism. That's important also. And always, always compete with yourself to become a better version of you. Always.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanisha. Christine, any final thoughts?
I like what everyone has said so far. I think just that open-mindedness, always can keep on learning, keep on building yourself up, keep on building others. And yeah, the biggest competition is yourself. So give yourself somebody hard to compete with and collaborate with the rest. And we would love to have more applicants join our CTA team.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Well, thanks to all of you, Elsa, Kira, Tanisha, and Christine, for joining us today. I really appreciate the background and the words of wisdom that you shared and your experiences. I hope our attendees enjoyed it as much as I did. So thank you all, and we wish you many more years of success at CTA and in this industry. Susanna, can we go to the last slide, please? So thank you all of us for joining us today for the CTA Virtual Job Fair and the Women in Transit panel. We hope to see applications from many of you in the very near future. Following us on LinkedIn is a great way to keep up with CTA. It's where you can learn about our job opportunities. It's where you can see more about our employees, such as the women you heard from today. We love to feature our employees and show a little bit about our company culture here at the Chicago Transit Authority. So please follow us there. I hope that everybody has enjoyed this presentation as much as I have. Again, thank you to our panelists and to all of my team members who made this possible. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.